So it has been a while since my last video, a bit longer than I would have liked, but unfortunately I fell sick and then I had school stuff to attend to, so I didn't really have time to record the video. I did, however, spend a lot of time while I was sick just playing on my off time, and I did manage to hit Grandmaster with Midrange Abyss. Today we'll be showcasing Midrange Abyss. Now this deck is a very fun and interesting deck. I'm not sure how good it is in the meta, honestly. I mean, arguably mid-range is actually better than the mode version, but yeah, I do like the idea of having options. So today we're playing Midrange Abyss, so let's start with looking at the deck list that I've been playing recently. So this is the deck list that I've been playing recently. You can see it's very horrendous spread of one-offs in my deck, so it's become a very long deck list, which is kind of gross to look at. So if you want to copy it, you can use this QR code, which I will put here, I guess. I will point out though that one thing that I found interesting about Midrange Abyss while I was testing decks is that this deck has a lot, and I mean a lot, of variety in what you can and cannot run. So I highly encourage you, if you're interested in playing this deck, to do your own testing, because there is so much variance in this deck list. It's honestly kind of crazy, the fact that even though it's the same archetype, you can run so many different things. So the version I'm running here, or rather that I've been playing recently, is with Leah as my 2-cost base, because if you reanimate her you can keep drawing, and the ward is used for hiding big followers behind, because some decks just can't handle that. Other than that, we've spammed in every copy of every mode card we have, because sometimes activating mode is very slow. And then some of my weirder tech choices I have here, we have Rage of Serpents as a one-off, just as a nice finisher to poke a bit of damage, because sometimes you need the 3 damage. You can consider running stuff like Dark Side as well if you want to play a safer piece that won't hit your own face, and you can use it in the early game as removal as well, but Dark Side has 1 less damage, which I found to be relevant sometimes. I ran 1 copy of Vuela as well, just to handle early aggro, because Sword, I ran into Sword and like mid-range and aggro Abyss way too much for me to not run something to handle it, so we run 1 of Vuela. You can consider running more if you're running a lot of Sword, or if you just want to play against Sword strongly. 1 copy of Medusa, mainly for Norman and the Mirror, that's about it. Yeah, and then 1 copy of Cocytus. This card, I've been told that it's good in the Haven matchup. I have not had it win me a single game yet, but I'm still in the middle of testing it. But I figured I might as well get a video out. So yeah, there's a lot of room for additions. You can make your own things. You can run Fildao, you can run Orthoros, you can run all kinds of things if you want. So just feel free to pick up the deck and try it yourself if you have the cards and if you're interested in the deck. So before we get into the games, I will just point out the deck list I'm playing in the games is a bit different from what I'm playing now, because as I say, I've been testing a lot of different things. So hopefully that will give you some idea what other cards you can consider running in the deck. So let's look at the games I have for you today. So for our first game here, we have a game against Sword. Vuela's here in this deck as well, I guess. That's nice. Anyway, I've been running into a lot of Sword recently, so yeah, first game here is Sword. We mulligan for the early aggro cards. If you open Sham Nacha, you should just keep her and use her as a 2-cost follower. The main point is to survive their early game. As long as you can survive the early game, you can usually stabilize in the late game unless they really draw all of their damaging options. So no quick later on turn 1 is great. We see Prim here, which makes me think it's going to be mid-range. I don't know who went and popularized mid-range, but it seems to be seeing a bit of a resurgence. Anyway, here we don't really want to let them play Prim, so play Nonya for full value, so we go ahead and play Devotee with the coin. Arguably, I should have just kept the Devotee for a wider board, because Devotee is your only board clear, but I guess I just didn't really have enough experience with this deck. Probably would have been trying to just drop Sham Nacha there, but I ended up playing the Devotee there, so hopefully we can pick up another one at some point. Bottom goes for another Prim here just to annoy me on my Evo turn, I guess. We try to just draw into our deck while getting our mode active, I guess. Keep drawing cards here, and then we just use the Reaper's Death Slash to trade into the non. Yeah, we don't really want to spend our Evo point here. Evo point are very important for using on your mode card, because you want to reach 10 mode. Actually against Sword, like 10 mode isn't even that important, but I mean it's better than not having it, so we might as well look towards it. So here, unfortunately, we don't have the Devotee because we wasted it earlier, so now we have to use it. We use this Gilnelis and our Evo point to clear. If we had saved the Devotee here, we would have gotten 1 more mode out of the Evo, so That's a misplay on my part, but we go ahead and use the Depth Slash to get rid of the Zirconia here. As long as we can manage their early game, we can usually look towards a win, so that's the main plan. Unfortunately, my opponent here has another Zirconia, which is very, very annoying. So let's go ahead and buff their board here as Zirconia does. We do coin the Rune and Vulnerate here, somewhat reluctantly, but for now we just want to focus on answering their board while getting our mode up. As a bonus, Rune and Vulnerate is actually pretty annoying for them to answer as well. I mean, it's not like they can't, but like, we force them to work with it so that we can hopefully stabilize in the late game. So that's Gildaria, as we would expect from someone playing mid-range, I guess. I mean, I feel like Gildaria is probably the reason why you would even play mid-range in the first place, but yeah. So my opponent will go ahead and use the Gildaria here and super evo it. And here's where Sham Nacha shines. You can just go ahead and use it to steal Gildaria. In past games, we had a lot of, in past like shadowverse and as well as recently, depending on what cards you look at, we have a lot of these cards that just steal your opponent's followers. A lot of the time they're just meme cards and like only good in niche situations. The good thing about Sham Nacha is that she's also our main enabler, so we are running her either way, so her stealing effect comes in handy sometimes, especially since you can also steal fanfares. To do steal this Gildaria for later, we are playing a deck with decent rally, so we will be able to we expect to be able to use it later on. Here, drop Sham Nacha here, we're just going to go ahead and steal their Amalia as well, because I mean, they have good cards, so we might as well make use of them. We are not really saving the Amalia for mode, but like, I don't really think it's super necessary. I mean, we're not really saving the Sham Nacha for mode. It's not super necessary. What I would say is that I should have probably reanimated 2 first, because yeah, I didn't have to play the Sham Nacha from my hand, so that part was a misplay for sure. But yeah, I probably forgot that I could have just gotten Sham Nacha out of it. Let me check. Oh well, I guess it wasn't guaranteed, but yeah, I should have reanimated first anyway in case it was Sham Nacha. So that was a misplay on my part, but I was still a bit new with the deck at the time, so hopefully he cut me a bit of slack here. I'm gonna use Kerberos here just to buff and hit face while clearing their board. We don't want to overcommit our resources. As you can see, we don't have a lot, and my opponent does have a lot, so we just spend our time just answering their board while dipping them down and doing whatever we can. We have some big bombs here with Amalia and Gildaria, of course, that we don't necessarily want to spend too early on, so we'll hold on to those. But now we do replace Amalia here. Clear this board without, well, we don't have the evil point to spend. Unfortunately, we can't really clear this without Amalia, so we do have to spend on Amalia here. You can see we are almost at rally 20, so we will be able to get our Gildaria super evolved as well. Of course, my opponent does have more Gildaria, so hopefully we can look for our last copy of Sham Nacha or something. My opponent will use a big Gil Nolis here to heal up, which is annoying, but it's probably fine. They probably run out of gas faster than we do, so we're not super worried yet. But now we just keep drawing onto our deck. And you can use a Rune and Vulnerate to clear this board, and we did pick up Sham Nacha as well. And we are at 10 faith now, so we can go ahead and drop Sham Nacha, and then we have some pretty big choice cards, or mode cards in our hand. So my opponent will play the Albert here. They are out of evil points though, so the Albert can't hit me for full value. They will do a bunch of damage here, 9 damage to be exact, which is a lot for sure. So we are a bit scared here. We'll just go ahead and play Ginsetsu. Honestly, we could probably gotten away with not playing Ginsetsu here and just activating Sham Nacha so I can get more value out of Ginsetsu. But I think Ginsetsu is my safest clear while conserving my resources, so it's probably fine here. My opponent has Jano here, which is, I guess, I'm not sure if this is a common card that's run in mid-range lists nowadays, because not that many mid-range players. I think it's still in development, I suppose the deck is. Let's go ahead and drop Gildaria here, mainly because we want to have room to play Sham Nacha now, so that we can activate. As you can see, a lot of these cards are very heavy, so now that we have a chance to play Sham Nacha, we might as well. And that will allow me to get a lot of value out of these cards in my hand. And also just annoy them with Gildaria. My opponent plays the Sweetness of Veracity here. It looks like they can't clear this board, so they just play all their damage to my face, but thankfully we are still alive. And we do have lethal, Yeah, we had lethal even without the Gilnalese top deck here, so it's completely fine. So we just go ahead and play Rune Knight here, who will get stormed so he can punch my opponent in the face. So yeah, that's it for this game. Against mid-range sword, you can sort of get away with just like stealing your opponent's followers. Our next game here is against Sword once again. I'm sure some people would have been upset if I didn't showcase the actually meta Sword deck matchup, so yeah, we'll have a game against Loot Sword. Mulligan is still like just early game cards. As you can see here in this instance, I was running Charetta. Charetta's actually mainly against an anti-sword tech. Having the ward early game helps to mitigate their early game damage, and later on she can stop Albert by herself, so that is the reason why you run Charetta. And the downside is of course running any follower that isn't one of your main engine followers is that it gets away in the way of your follower surges. But yeah, let's keep we are running Charetta here just to protect ourselves. And opponent will go ahead and play the what is this, Supplicant. We'll just go ahead and keep thinning out our deck up with these spells, as well as getting our mold count up while we punch our opponent in the face with this Charetta that's just been sitting here. Fortunately, my opponent did not have Zirconia here. If they had Zirconia, I probably would have been like in a bit of trouble there. But, you know, I guess fortunately they didn't. I mean, worst case I would have just used Gilnalese to clear it, so it's not like the end of the world, but obviously it's better. We are thankful they didn't have Zirconia in this case. And we go ahead and just clear that follower drawing into our deck. Pretty ugly hand with a lot of our high cost followers here and none of our mode activators, so not like the best draw ever, but my opponent isn't drawing super great either, so I guess we're even on that front. So I'll go ahead and clear my opponent's board here with Gilnalese because we have 3 of them and there's literally nothing better to do this turn. Let's go ahead and use the evolve here, and we don't need the healing, so it's better to keep our Gilnalese healthy. And of course draw into our deck to try to find our mode activators. And then we can go ahead and make use of Reanimate to summon this Charetta to protect Gilnalese. It's probably not going to cause my opponent particularly much trouble at all, but better than nothing, I guess. So yeah, the benefit of running these 2 cost ward followers is that you can reanimate a ward whenever you want, which is quite useful. You'll find a lot of cases where you can just hide a follower, like especially a devotee, a 7/7 devotee behind a ward, which is a pretty strong play early on. And my opponent is going for their Sincero here, which takes a lot. We take a lot of damage here, but I guess it's fine. I mean, it's like not really fine, but you know. And go ahead and buff our Gilnalese here to heal up more. Against Loot Sword, we just stall out their damage usually. Of course, if you manage to get our opponent to spend evil points earlier, it's better because they can't do things like Evil Odin Face, but yeah, we just want to kill out of their range, get out. Once we get our mold cards activated, Ginsetsu is very strong into Loot Sword, so there's that. My opponent will just drop the Odin and Evil into my face, so we are taking a ton of damage here. Unfortunately, we don't quite have our mode activated yet. That will quickly change, so we can go ahead and use Supplicant to heal. We are not in Albert Leaf. Well, they can't even play Albert next turn anyway, but yeah, we're not really in Albert Lethal Ranger, so just go ahead and use Supplicant to heal here. We do lose Supplicant in the trade, but that's completely fine. We just want to prioritize getting Sham Nacha active so we can get benefits out of our Rulonai and Ginsetsus. Currently, we don't see a second Sincero, so we can play a Rulonai board, we should be able to annoy our opponent quite a lot. Oh, so I say, but there's the second Sincero, so we have that to watch out for now. Ideally, you want to keep track of what loots your opponent has and hasn't fused and played, because you will find yourself playing the game better that way, but most of the time I'm very lazy, so I don't. But if you're playing seriously and you really want to win, 100% you should be keeping track of loots. Unfortunately, there is no tab for you to track which Sincero has which loots, so you sort of have to play a guessing game on that front. Yeah, we'll just go ahead and use Valneric and Rulonai to just punch them in the face and annoy them. Sort of force out their Sincero here. We have a second Rulonai in hand, so if you can force out their Sincero to clear, which Loot Sword doesn't really have a better clear than Sincero, so we can force it out here, and then we take a bunch of damage here, but they are dead to our Rulonai, so that's it for this game. Yeah, just heal out of their range, hit them in the face a bunch, and then hopefully you should be able to find a chance to win. Yeah, that's it for this game, I guess. On to the next one. Our last game here is against Rune, which I consider to be probably the worst matchup for this deck. So for the early game, you just want to try to... Well, you can go two routes. You can either try to pressure them early on and just push your way to a lethal that way. Or you can try to activate mode as fast as possible and set up an OTK with Rune 9 Valneric, which will help you get through their healing. Depends on your opening hand usually. In this case, we see a lot of early game cards. We just want to pressure them in the face, I guess. So just go ahead and coin out the skeleton from the soiree. You can see I was running soiree here. You can go ahead and buff the skeleton here with the entwining. We do lose out on the draw, of course, by buffing it, but we are trying to pressure them here, so that's completely fine. When drop Rattling Zombie, it should stick a turn unless they want to sink 2 Wind Blast into it, which is completely fine. Or so I thought, but my opponent unfortunately did have 8 wise, so they will be able to clear the zombie, which prevents me from punching them in the face with it, which is quite unfortunate. In this case, we can go ahead and drop Supplicant here just to clear it. Supplicant's 4/4 stats is really good into Anangria because it's very hard for them to put an evolved Anangria behind a ward. They usually just trade no thing, right? You could also evolve it, put it at 6/6, then your opponent sort of has to evolve Anangria to answer it, but in this case, I think it's better to save the evo point for a later game because at this point, I think I've missed my window to really try to overwhelm them. Once your opponent gets their evo points online, they get access to stuff like Anangria. You're not gonna be able to stick big followers on board, so for now we just try to get our mode count up. We leave our board empty because we want to deny Onion Patch trading, so to slow up their spell rules as much as we can. So we go ahead and use Devotee here just to AoE 1 to clear all of these onions that are on board. And we will go ahead and evolve the Devotee. In this case, we make sure we don't take the +2/+2 because we actually want the Devotee to die in this trade so that we can leave our board empty once again. And we just get this ghost out of our hand. But we try to draw more. We have a lot of card draw, so probably getting the ghost out of our hand beforehand is quite good. And once again, we leave our board empty for the onion here. So we go ahead and pick a Devotee here. We just go ahead and clear the onion because we don't want to let them get too many free spell boosts. And we just use the Reaper to clear the Anangria. Thankfully, my opponent spent all their dirt on Edelweiss earlier, so we don't really have to worry about Norman. Norman is a huge problem for this deck. That's one of the reasons why we are running Medusa. And also the 3 copies of the Reaper's Death Slash can help you answer Norman because when they summon 2 wards, it's actually really annoying for this deck to clear. My opponent will just get out a bunch of their dirts here, which is fine, where we rather them spend it on dirts than healing. So for now, we just go ahead and draw into our deck, try and find Sham Nacha. We finally pick her up here, so we will be able to activate her effect. We finally give them a trade target for the onion, but it's sort of like a inescapable sort of moment, I suppose. Now comes the Norman here, they will use it to draw, so their hand must not be very good, which is great for me. And they evolve the Norman here. We heal up to full, which is completely fine because as long as they don't, well, even if they summon the wards, at this point we have Ginsetsu and Yuzaki active, so that's fine. So now we just go ahead and start chipping them down. Drop a Rune 9 Vulnerate here. And then we save the spells. Actually, we can start looking for an OTK opportunity since, well, even without OTK opportunity, we can start looking to push a lot ton of damage. But unfortunately, we leave our board empty here, so my opponent is going to play the Cocytus here. At this point, if my opponent draws the Astaroth's Reckoning, we just die. There's no escaping that, unfortunately, but hopefully they don't. That's what I'm hoping for. Let me go ahead and start pressuring them here with the buffing the Vulnerate here. Great, and then we just go ahead and buff it with a second Gilnolis. Having these 5-cost spells is easier to pair up for later on, so we just trade this Gilnolis in for damage while we can. At this point, they'll probably kill us. At this point, Gilnolis' healing probably won't be particularly effective, so there's that. We should point out we super evolved earlier to put them down so that even with one hit of 4 point healing, We still have lethal with double sweetness because Rune heals in force. Fortunately though, my opponent has a second one which will allow them to heal out of range. And they will go ahead evolve the Norman as well, so that heals them out of lethal because we only have 15 damage on board. So at this point, my opponent has already played Kakuta, so their entire deck is the Kakuta's deck. So I just bet on the fact that they probably don't have any more healing in their deck. And just go ahead and use Cerberus here to push a ton of damage, with the assumption that they probably will die next turn as long as they don't draw Astaroth. Of course, if they draw Astaroth, I just lose immediately. Once again, not much I can do about that, unfortunately, which is why this is a bad matchup. There's their Stormy Blast and Kuon as well. Fortunately, no healing. Well, it was likely that they didn't have healing. They played 2 Sage Lights and 2 Normans, and they deleted their deck like halfway through the game. So yeah, thankfully you can just finish the game with double sweetness here. So difficult matchup, but if your opponent doesn't draw super well, you can still win, I guess. So those are all the games I had for you today. Hopefully gave you some idea of how the deck worked. Honestly, I would have liked to get some better games, especially one against Crest Haven, but every time I ran against Haven, it was ward for some reason, or they just brick royally and they get destroyed. So yeah, I did manage to get a good Haven game to showcase. So for today, it's 2 swords and a spell boost Rune, I guess. I do a second video on this deck if I feel like it. But anyway, yeah, hopefully you have some idea of how the deck worked. Maybe you got to see some of the tech cards you can choose to run in this deck, see how they might work. And yeah, if you are interested in more Abyss, I encourage you to go look around at other people's lists and try out what feels right to you as well, because there is, again, a lot of variety. And this deck's matchups against Spell Boost and Crest are like on the worst side. If you want to have a better matchups, you're probably better off playing mid-range. Mid-range is also good in the mirror. This deck is probably unfavored against mid-range, I find, so you can consider playing Midrange Abyss without all these mode cards as well. It's probably actually better in the current meta, but I want to play mode, so I'm playing mode. Yeah, that's it for today's video. See you next time. Bye bye.